Hi everyone, Amanda Saladin here from Love Life Yarn, and today we're going to be crocheting the Beginner's Crochet Baby Blanket. Right? This is very simple, made with single crochet only. So it's great for if you're brand new to crochet, or if you just want a super quick and easy project that you don't have to think about. This is it. I've used the Bernat Blanket, you can see here, in two different colors to make some nice stripes and a nice single crochet border. In the same two colors, I used just a little cluster of single crochet to give it a little more texture here on the ends, but super easy. This video will walk you through every single step, from how to hold the yarn and how to tie a slip knot all the way to how to weave in your ends. So if you have crocheted before and you want to skip those parts, it's absolutely fine. Find more than 100 free patterns at love.life.yarn.com, including other great blankets and other projects that are great for beginners. The supplies that we're going to use for this pattern are this Bernat Blanket from Yarn Inspirations. This is the purple haze, and I'm also going to use white. And you will need a pretty large 11.50 millimeter size P hook. So I have mine inexpensive plastic one you can get at your local store. I think I got mine at Joann. And you will need a yarn needle to weave in your ends. Let's get started. Now you start with the opposite color that you want for the border. My border is going to be white, so I'm going to start with the purple haze. And you make your slip knot. This is how I make mine. You circle around your working strand. So this strand right here goes back to the ball. Make a circle around it. Pull this in through. And that allows it to slide up and down. So you can see how it does that, so that it gets nice and tight around my hook, but it's not so tight that it can't pull through. And now we're going to chain. Now I found with this thicker yarn, a lot of times I wrap my yarn around my pinky to get tension. This stuff usually catches, like any of the thicker yarns, doesn't matter what the fiber content is for me. So I just hold it in my hand like this, and then wrap it around this finger, like this. So I kind of hold it with these fingers. And you loop it around your hook, and you pull through. So there's two chains. You can see, count 1, 2. And you'll move your hand up as you get more, especially with how big these are. 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to keep doing that, keep chaining until you have 51. Okay, so it's going to take you a little bit. I'm going to chain the rest of mine, and then we're going to come back together. Okay, so I have 51, my long chain here, and I'm going to show you how I think it's easiest for beginners to crochet into a chain. You can see when you look at it this way, what we're looking for, they're like V's. If you look at the back, they're little loops. And a lot of times now that I'm more experienced, I crochet into this part. But starting out, I did not do that because it was very hard for me to see those. And so I want to make this as easy as possible for you. So we're going to be crocheting just into, so look at it where it's nice and even, where the V's are facing you. And when you do a single crochet, you never crochet in this very first one, because it gives you room for it to turn like this. Otherwise it'd be really, it wouldn't have enough room to turn. So this last chain, that's why we chained 51, because we're going to work on 50 stitches. But this one chain here is going to allow it to turn, so get a nice even edge. So skip that first one, and we're going to work right here into this second loop. So you put your hook in, and then make sure this is wrapped around. For me, it just kind of naturally falls there, and then I pull it through. And now I have 2 loops. So now loop around your hook, pull it through those 2 loops, and that is a single crochet. So you've made your first one. And now you can see where we worked here. go to this next one, insert. This is called yarn over. Pull up loop, yarn over again, and pull through 2. Now we have 2 single crochet. We'll move to the next one. Insert, yarn over, pull up to where you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and draw through. And that's 3 single crochet. So what you're going to do, I'm not going to bore you by doing 50 stitches all the way across, so you're just going to work in each chain. So you'll work here, then here. See how they're right next to each other, just these top loops. If it gets kind of turned on you, you'll see this kind of weird back bump. Just make sure you turn it to where it's nice and even. It kind of wants to lay this way, especially this Bernat Blanket yarn, which I really like for blankets, of course, which is what it's made for mostly. Very nice, soft, and it's large, so it's easy to work with and it works up quickly. So just work each of these all the way down until you have 50 stitches. Okay, now I have finished my last single crochet in this very last chain. You should be down to your slip knot, and I have 50. Now, if you have trouble getting exactly the right amount of chains, it is okay to chain extra and leave them out, and you can always undo this little knot later and pick them out. And that helped me a lot when I was starting because, you know, I'd get down and be like, oh, I have 49. Well, then I learned, I've read somewhere, I can't remember, it's been a long time now, that a few extra chains could always be left, and then you literally just go through and you untie the slip knot. It would just come out like right here, and then you just pick them out and it goes back to right here, and you would have a good number. So you always turn at the end, so you'll turn to where you're always working. If you are right-handed, you're going to work right to left. If you're left-handed, you'll work left to right. Okay, I'm right-handed, so, and I will do a left-handed video of this, so I flip it so that everyone can benefit from these videos. But so you're going to chain 1. So for me, when I turn, my yarn ends up at the front, and it doesn't bother me at all to just wrap it around and pull through to chain 1. And this, the reason you do this is it gets you up to the height of a single crochet. That way, just like we did at the beginning where we had that little extra chain to help us turn, that way you have this extra room to work into the stitch as opposed to being like really tight, not being able to fit in here. So we're chain 1. When you work a single crochet, you kind of notice how this has a hole in it already. Get closer. The top of it, remove that, looks like a V. They look like V's all lined up together, and you're going to work underneath both of those. You see how they're both on the hook there? A lot of times I see people working into just one. They split the stitch like this, and that is fine in certain situations, and it gives you a nice look if that's what you're going for, and I have used it a lot. But for this, and if you're just doing a regular single crochet, you don't want to do that. It will leave ridges on your pattern. Like it'll look like ribbing as opposed to being just single crochet and being flat. So see this hole right here? We're going to do the same basic stitch, but we're going to work in here. So you're going to put it underneath both of these loops, yarn over. So mine naturally just already is there. If it's not, just wrap it around, pull up a loop, same 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through. And it's the same single crochet. Next stitch, you can see there's the hole right here. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And then, so you'll see each one has a hole. And then you have that V, so you know when you put it in, if you have these 2 strands, separate them so you can see they're 2 separate strands, then you've got the right place. Okay, so you're going to keep going across. You're going to end up with the same number. Now, some people, especially when you're starting out, they like to count, and that helped me a lot too, learning. I counted every one in my head, because sometimes when you get down to the end, get my end over here, it's hard to tell where you should work. And so I'm going to work my row across and I will show you how to do that one. Now I've counted mine. I've done 48. I wanted to make sure this is right. So 49 is going to be right here, and 50. So see, it's almost like it's part of this turning chain here, your last stitch. So a lot of times people will only work, let's say I worked into this one, which is 49. And then they don't realize this is another stitch if they haven't counted, and they turn and it starts getting smaller. When I started out, I did this and I ended up with a triangle, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Well, it wasn't counting. So this last part right here, it doesn't look as much like a V, but these last two strands, you will put your hook in there and work a single crochet. So if you're brand new, I would definitely recommend counting. As you can see now, it's even. If you're not and you feel comfortable, coming here to the end and knowing how many stitches you have, I still count, every few rows, because it helps me to make sure I'm not going to, do a whole lot of work and then have to rip it out. If you're just using this one color and you're just making a one color blanket, you just keep working that same row, row 2, where you just chain 1 and then find this first hole and single crochet and all the way across 50 stitches. If you are doing the 2 color, the stripes like I have, then you're going to do 6 rows of this color, and then you're going to come back with your main color, the one that's the border as well, and you're going to do 6 rows and you're going to alternate. Now when you're starting a new color, what I do is I just let the old color hang and I hold the new one beside it, and then I just loop over. So starting a new row, a new color is not hard. Let's say this was my new one here. I would put my old color and just leave it hanging there. But this one we're going to do so many rows that you could just go ahead and cut it off. Leave a long tail for weaving it in later, or else you won't be able to hide your ends. I'll show you how to weave in ends at the end, since this is really for, beginners. And then you just pick up the new, let's pretend like this is my new one. I just hold it here, and you would chain 1 with the new, and if it gets loose, you would just come back here and grab its tail and pull it tight, and then you just start single crocheting just like normal. So if you don't feel up for color changes, feel free to buy 2 balls of the same color and just make a one color blanket, which is also beautiful, or you could do one color and then a different color border. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my rows of single crochet. That way we can come back together and do the border. So you just keep going with single crochet. Okay, now I have worked 7 stripes. I have 4 of my main color, or the contrasting color, and 3 of my main color, which is going to be my border, the white. And now I'm going to show you how to work the border. So I get around here to where my last stitch was, right here, and I'm going to join my white yarn just the same way I would when I was working a change in color for a stripe. So chain 1, and we're just going to single crochet again all the way across the top, just like you're working a regular row, the first row of a stripe. So go all the way down to that corner stitch, and then we'll turn the corner, and I'll show you how to work the corner there. Here I am down to my last stitch. When you're turning a corner in single crochet, you can do it usually one of 2 ways. You can either work 3 single crochet into here, or a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Now because we're working with such big yarn, I've decided to go with the chain space in the middle. So go ahead and single crochet, chain 1, this helps turn the corner, and then single crochet again into the same space. So you have the last single crochet on this row, the chain to help turn the corner, and the first single crochet on the side, all in this nice little corner space. When you're working a baby blanket, the general rule is to put one single crochet into each single crochet row. So you can see this is a row right here, and then we have a row right here that kind of look like little lines. So you're going to work into the side of your rows, and it doesn't really matter exactly where it goes in. So just find a place like this. If you see a hole here, you can go ahead and work into that. It just depends on the row. So you should be able to just kind of work in. All the way down. Every so often, stop and look, see if your work is even. You need to pull in your stitches in here or anything, just to make sure that it looks nice, not like, puckering or there's too few stitches. So I just check, maybe every stripe, you just check and make sure that it's nice and even. Work down to the other corner. Do the same thing in the other corner, single crochet, chain one, single crochet, and then work along your bottom row of stitches. So let me show you mine. And you can see here each stitch. You'd work into each of those, then you would turn the other corner and work the other side just like this. Now it's up to you if you want to go ahead and weave in your ends on that side, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. Personally, I leave mine out while I do this. I don't worry about them till the very end. I just kind of go around them, but I leave them hanging out. So you'll have several ends like this hanging out, and I would just crochet over them and leave them hanging out. And then we'll come back and we'll get these in. So go ahead and go do row one around, doing single crochet with a single crochet, chain one, single crochet in each corner. Here I am now at the end. I've got a couple more stitches to go. And so I just am leaving my ends for later. So go ahead and work the last couple of stitches here. And you see I'm back to this, the last stitch. See, I'm right back here where I started. So since we already have a single crochet here, just put one, and I'll go ahead and hold my ends over here. Work your chain one, and now you join with what's called a slip stitch. So this very first stitch right here, I just pulled mine a little tight. Insert your hook like you're gonna make a single crochet, and yarn over and pull it through. But this time, the only thing you'll need to do is to pull it through this other loop. And that's called a slip stitch if you're new to crochet. And it's going to join it nice and evenly for the end of your first row. So you should have a nice, even row of single crochet all the way around your blanket. Now we're going to continue the same way around for each border row. You're going to work another row of the white, so have 2 rows of the white, and then 2 rows of the contrasting color, and then 2 more rows of white to finish out our border. Every time you come to the end, make sure you do a slip stitch like we just did, and then you will chain 1, and you'll single crochet into the same space, and single crochet in each space around. When you get to a corner, you can easily see the chain space because it kind of has a hole in it like this. And that corner like this is where you would work your single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, right in this space. Each corner has a hole like that. Let me find my other one too. Another one to show you. So when I come here, when I find this hole in the corner, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet right here, and then keep working down. And then you'll change colors after your slip stitch. After this row, chain 1, work around same way, working the corners the same, and then you'll chain 1 in every round and slip stitch at the end. And then the very last round you will just slip stitch and then you'll cut your yarn. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Now I've come around and made a second row of single crochet on the outside of my blanket. So I've just joined with a slip stitch here. If you're going to work in the second round, you just chain one, single crochet all the way around again, and you work the single crochet, chain one, single crochet into this chain one space of the row below. So here's my first row, and then here's where I worked single crochet, chain one, single crochet in here. So when you have two rounds, as they call it, of your white, we're going to join our other color. First we're going to turn. Let me turn mine around. And we're going to join it right here in the chain one space. There we go with that. Chain one. And now we're going to work 3 single crochet in this spot. This entire blanket is all single crochet. So if that's the only stitch you know, don't worry, we're not getting into anything weird here. Skip the next stitch, 3 single crochet again. So we're making a little bit of a scalloped border, but not using a double crochet, which is typical of a shell edge or a picot. So skip, 3 single crochet. So you can see that gives us a little bit of a different look than just the plain single crochet around the edge. So continue this way, skip 1, 3 single crochet down to the other corner. Work your way down this first row, and now here I am, and I'm wanting to work into my corner space. So I'm going to skip, and I'm going to work right here. And if you find when you go on the side of the blanket that you don't have an exact even number for it to be like 1 and then the corner space, it is okay to skip 2. It doesn't make any difference. I checked it out to make sure, and so I like skipped 2 and then went in my corner. So just as long as you're trying to do every other single crochet working in this 3 little shell, mini shell thing, as long as you're doing it that way, then when you get down here to the corner, find your chain 1 space. Get my yarn out here. Okay, so working in the chain. Always make sure you're working in the chain 1 space though. But let's say there were 2 stitches here and then the chain 1 space. Just skip both, work in here, because sometimes we get a little bit different stitch count on the side of the row, and that's perfectly okay. So don't worry if you see that problem. Just skip the 2 and then go back to doing every other stitch after you turn the corner. So I'll show you mine after I get my 3 single crochet here. So you can see how it just turned the corner. And when I tested it out, like I said, skipping 2, it still turned the corner just fine. So it just worked all the way around. Join with the slip stitch to that very first single crochet, and then I'll show you how to fasten off. Completed my last group of my single crochet here, and this is my first one that I made. I'm going to join with the slip stitch. So you just pull the yarn through both, and now you're going to fasten off. So what this means is that we're going to cut. Yes, I did take one of my kids' school scissors. I really like those for this. They're Fiskars, so they work really well. And now when you fasten off, you see you still got this last loop, and we want to end that. So you just yarn over and pull it all the way through like this. So you have a loop with one, and then you pull it tight. That's how you fasten off in any project. and it leaves us this little tail end right here. So you're going to need a yarn needle. You can use one that's bent like this or a straight one. These are very inexpensive. And for this yarn, I'm using one with a really big eye, and you can see this is a big one. I've got smaller ones that I use as well. I use my straight one here. I like both. I don't really see any advantages of bent versus straight. So you just put it through here, leave a little bit of a tail, and we're going to weave this in. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to work underneath a couple of my groups of single crochet. Now you're going to see this a little bit just in this one because it's such a different color. If you're working with the same color yarn throughout, you won't see it. So I'm going to go back now. I'm just going to go over this first loop and then go underneath the same stitches, coming out right here. Now I used to just do it twice, and sometimes I do, but I found that doing it a third time, just on a blanket, will really help to hold it in place. So come on down right here. Do it a third time. Nice and even. Take your scissors and clip it really close. So you got a little bit of a tail in there. If you pull on it, it pulls it inside. Got a couple of fuzzes here from clipping. Just get rid of those. And that end is woven in. Here's my one from where I started. And you'll just do the same thing with each end. So I'll turn on this side. I'll put this in through the yarn needle, and I'll just do the same thing. I'll work through either this way or this way. Doesn't really matter. And as you do the ones here from where you switch, like here's where I joined and ended my white, I'm going to do the same thing right here. Or actually, you know what, with this one, I'll probably do it in this row, because that way you won't see that strand of white going straight there. It'll hide in here. And then so just try to do it the same colors as much as possible. So here I would come across these, and then go back and get the different ends from where you changed colors, like these right here. If you didn't do a striped blanket, you won't have nearly so many ends to weave in, but it's worth it for the look. I like the look of the two colors. So once you get those ends woven in, it's really done. I don't see a reason to do what they call blocking, especially a blanket like this. Some people like to wash theirs. If you do, just make sure that you follow the instructions on the ball band. They always have instructions on how to care for the yarn as well. So a lot of blanket yarns you're just going to be able to wash carefully, and some of the nicer yarns you would have to hand wash if you're doing that. But you know, if you're doing a baby blanket, you really want something that could be taken care of easily, because let's face it, babies are messy. I have 4 little boys. Right now they're all under age 10, so one is still in the messy stage. He's 1.5. Actually, my 3-year-old sometimes is messier than he is. So you want something to be cared for easily. So I really hope that you enjoy this beginner, this free pattern. If you like this, you can find more baby blanket patterns on my blog at love.life.yarn.com. I have more than 100 free patterns. A lot of them are babies, and definitely other blankets. And I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm coming out with new tutorials all the time. Can't wait to share them with you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.